This video is a response to a reply I received on the last episode, and thus I am naming this episode 2.5 as it's not officially the third episode as intended. The argument being made centers on one phrase in Joseph Smith's October 5th, 1843 journal entry, the words, "on this law." They suggest that me not reading this statement is misleading. While I should have read it, I did present it on screen and I did include links to the document. However, leaving this out is not as significant as the commenter suggested, and I'll explain why. The claim is that the phrase refers to the revelation later canonized as section 132, and therefore the altered version of the journal entry is valid. As we will see here, that conclusion does not follow. The commenter's argument goes like this. If "on this law" refers to section 132, and section 132 allows plural marriage, then Joseph must have been teaching monogamy as the rule with polygamy as the exception, and therefore the later alteration simply clarifies what Joseph meant. But that reasoning smuggles in a conclusion that the text itself does not make. For the sake of argument, I am willing to grant two things. First, that section 132 authorizes Joseph Smith to implement plural marriage if he desired. I think there's a reasonable case for that, and it likely contributed to later confusion. Second, that, quote, "on this law," quote, is referring to the unpublished revelation, that is, section 132. Even granting both of those premises, the conclusion still does not follow what is stated in the original journal. It still denies the practice of polygamy. No man shall participate. The new statement suggests that Joseph Smith constantly taught monogamy with a polygamy exception. So instead of isolating this one phrase, let's read the claim as a whole. Here's the original journal entry. Gave instructions to try those who were preaching, teaching, or practicing the doctrine of plurality of wives. On this law, Joseph forbids it, and the practice thereof, no man shall have but one wife. Joseph is not authorizing plural marriage here. He is trying people for teaching it. He forbids it. And he concludes with an unqualified statement. No man shall have but one wife. Not some men, not unless otherwise authorized. No man. The later alteration doesn't just interpret "on this law" or expand on that statement. It introduces an entirely new claim, that Joseph constantly taught monogamy with plural marriage as an exception. Quote, gave instructions to try those persons who are preaching, teaching, or practicing the doctrine of plurality of wives. For according to the law, I hold the keys of this power in the last days. For there is never but one on earth at a time on whom the power and its keys are conferred. And I have constantly said, no man shall have but one wife at a time unless the Lord directs otherwise. Emphasis on "I have constantly said no man shall have but one wife at a time unless the Lord directs otherwise." The claim is not in the original journal, and it does not logically follow from granting section 132 as the law. Authorization does not equal implementation. And interpretation does not justify rewriting what Joseph Smith actually said. So the next question is simple. Did Joseph Smith, in fact, constantly teach monogamy unless otherwise directed? The answer is no. There are no records of this. The only record, as we've shown, was altered quite drastically from his original journal. I am more than happy to be contradicted if someone would like to validate this claim. Meanwhile, in the next video, as originally intended, we will go through all the direct, published, and contemporary statements of Joseph Smith, as well as some documented writings of his sermons, and see that he did not mince words on this and consistently provided no exceptions.